Hi, everybody. Welcome to Leverage TV, where making business relative is our objective. My name is Jamil Cooper, and I'm your host. Today, we will be continuing our conversation on the characteristics of a successful entrepreneur. Our topic for the day will be customer sensitivity. But let me admit that this conversation calls for a professional who understands the acquisition, that understands the customer acquisition process and understands customer sustainability. So, our guest for this segment range from a small town in Virginia. How many of you know that extraordinary people come from small places? She is a Trojan. What I mean by Trojan, she's a graduate from Virginia State University. She graduated with a degree in marketing. As a retail consultant, she has over 19 years in the industry. She works she has worked in the private, public, and governmental sectors of business. Um, Her work as a merchandiser, a retail specialist, right, has been recognized by many companies such as Procter and Gamble, General Mills, and Acosta. She is the founder and owner of Venue LLC, which empowers and transforms businesses of all sizes, providing services such as retail training, leadership training, customer service training, and visual merchandising. Without further ado, I would like to welcome you. I would like to welcome to Leverage TV, Her Elegance, Diana. Hi, Diana. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you, Jamil, for having me on the show. I'm doing great.
So, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I knew that you would be the perfect person for this, being that you have an array of experience in the customer service industry. I mean, one of the most important things about working in customer service, about running a business, is that you need customers in order for the business to run so that you can be profitable, right? But I think customer sensitivity is very important. And so I want to play a game. Are you game for a game? Because I'm game for a
Yes,
game.
I'm
Okay.
game. I'm
All
game.
right. I like that
I'm
attitude.
game.
Well, anyway, so I'm gonna put up two images. I want you to tell me, what do you see?
Yeah. The first image, a mess. I see a mess. And that's what customers see. If they go into the store, that's what they're seeing. They're seeing a mess. So that's what I see too as well. And and that's very important that we look at things like that, and we look at it from the perspective of a customer. Would a customer want to shop there if they saw that mess? Probably not. They probably would turn back around. So yeah, you have to really be sensitive to the customers, and if that's shoppable. Is that something that that somebody would want to frequent that type of store?
Mm. So let me ask you a question. How would you, as a retail specialist, what would be your suggestions to improve the cash flow for a business that is experiencing something like this?
Okay. The cash flow. Well, it would be to well, think about merchandising is that you are creating a story. So
Hmm.
when you are actually having a disarray of products everywhere, it's not shoppable. And the story that you're telling the customer is that you don't want to shop here. So
Mm.
you want to kind of, be mindful of how you're telling the story. What story do you want to tell to your customers? Do you want to say, hey, this is shoppable? You can find what you're looking for. You can even find some things that you didn't even have in mind. So that's some of the things that you kind of want to, have in mind when you are running a retail store. What kind of stories are you creating through your visual merchandising?
Right. So what you're saying is that presentation is important. Presentation is key in terms of what you provide a consumer.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You think about how many times that you've actually, went to a store and you like, okay, I can't deal with this, and you walk right back out. You're like, I don't think I can really shop. It's certain places that people frequent that are more organized, is more pleasing to the eye. Customers can find what they want. They can even find some things that, they can, start shopping around for other people too as well. So it's really important, when a person comes into your store, that you're really putting your best foot forward as soon as you open, as well as throughout the day. So that's something very important. A lot of people have to, it's a lot of upkeep also too in the visual merchandising. You have to
Mhm.
maintain those displays throughout the day. And I think that's what happened. It was just a lack of maintenance and probably just a lack of staff, to be perfectly
Mm.
honest, with this particular image.
I never even thought about like how a lack of staff can kind of cause. I mean, when you think about it, it's almost like a bottleneck, right?
Hmm.
You got somebody at the register, you got somebody on the floor, but you have nobody taking the returns and putting the returns in the proper place. Um, so that's like a bottleneck for the um, for the company, right? So it's going to slow down some processes.
Oh,
Am I right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because you have to have a system in place. When you
Hmm.
are actually running a store, it's a system. You have to have a system, you have to have rotation, you have to have coverage. So I think this was just a lack of coverage. It may have been the holidays, which were, companies hire seasonally, so they hire a lot of different people so that the way they can, help the customers. But also too, you want to be able to maintain your store. But I think this particular store, didn't have enough coverage to maintain it. Maybe they weren't, properly trained on how to actually, handle those things, and they weren't zoned properly during a busy time like that, because the store shouldn't ever look in a disarray. So I think it's several things that, they could have did differently, even just how they use their hangers, the type of hangers that are like, at a have like the loops and things like that. Is certain hangles that you could actually have, so it kind of prevent that. And I think this
Hmm.
store in particular is a very fast fashion store. So they're kind of like, they create this culture of fast fashion. So people just throw things everywhere. So that's not
Mm.
really a really great thing for this particular company, because they're not merchandising effectively. And then it's like, who wants to shop during the holidays or anytime if they go into a store and it looks a mess? I personally don't want to shop there.
Okay. And so I'm going to give you another slide. Let's see. I mean, so if you were to rate this, what would you rate this?
The previous one,
This slide right here, the first one.
the first one, I would rate it, if I'm being nice, a one.
A one.
But yeah,
A one.
a one, and that is for everything that's hanging up. Okay,
Mhm.
um, yeah, that's being nice for that image, but it's really a zero, because a store should never look like this.
Right.
Um, get more coverage, get more staff, and treat your merchandise correctly, and people will, honor those things, and be able to increase your profits too as well.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty good. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. And I want you to grade this one first and then your give me your feedback on it. I would love to hear your feedback. So I want our viewers to be able to understand how important it is to have customer sensitivity, and presentation is a part of that. All right. You ready? There you go.
See this image? Yes. Now that image right there, that is how it's supposed to be. It's neat, it's organized, it's telling a story. So the story that they're actually creating with this particular image is that they're showing, like, was this tea? So it's merchandised correctly, because now you have different coffee, and had different tea mugs. So it's a really clean representation of this store. I personally would shop there. I'm pretty sure everyone else would shop there, as well as a good way to maintain. A lot of times, because a lot of times stores will overly pack their stores, and which is a bad idea. because you will have like
Mm.
the first case. So this one right here is a very clean thing too, and it's also very shopper friendly. So when a person is actually trying to put things back, the workers can put things back properly. Even people shopping, they say, okay, well, you know what? And they'll put things back properly. But when your store is in disarray, people don't care. People treat your store how you treat your store. So at the end of the day, business owners, treat your store right. And then the customers will treat your store like you treat it. So yeah, this I love. It's color coded, it's clean, it's shoppable. Love this image.
Okay. So another question that I would have is how would you apply this to service-based businesses that aren't offering because we're talking about customer sensitivity overall, right? I picked these images because these are specifically something that you work with. But service-based businesses like an accounting business or a motivational speakers business, or there's array and event planning business. How would you apply those same principles, or what would you suggest that they can do to make sure that their presentation is up to par?
I believe it starts with you. So if you're dressed
Mm,
well for the job, if you show up on time, if you respect the customer's time, if you have a certain time that you're going to go ahead and meet them, make sure you actually do those things. So don't, be very on point far as your time, be on point far as your follow-ups. All of that is in the presentation. So I would say, and that's also customer based too as well, because if a customer comes to you and you're disorganized, then they're going to treat you. They're just going to say, okay, well, this person is not really a professional. So maybe I'll show up on time. Maybe I'll come. Maybe I'll pay them. So once you kind of start setting those precedences and start saying to a customer, hey, this is what my expectations are. This is who I am. And you present it in such a way, then they actually will reciprocate those same things.
okay. I think that's very important. Like nobody want to walk into a place that is disarray or unorganized, or the environment, because as an entrepreneur, you create the environment. You don't want a hostile
Mhm.
environment. Hostile environment doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of anger and rage there, but the appearance of it can come off like, I know, like I can't deal with clutter, right? I want to
Right.
start cleaning stuff when I see clutter, right? And
That's
it
it.
may make me a bit antsy. I thank God I got a roommate who is as cleanly as I am, because I'd probably be crazy. Like some people, they can just leave stuff anywhere, but for me, it has to be like very neat and precise. And so when I'm dealing with my business, when I'm dealing with my clients, I want to make sure that my communication and everything is important. So can you define from your experience what is customer sensitivity? I know it's a word that a kind of a phrase that I made up, but I feel like that is something very important for entrepreneurs to have. How would you define that?
I would say customer sensitivity is it really goes back to impression and impact.
Mm,
What kind of impression do you want to have? What
right.
kind of impact do you want to have? Because ultimately that's what's going to really determine how successful you are. And that can be
Mm,
applied to anything. If you have customers or clientele, for your accountant, what kind of impression do you want to leave on them? And also too, and that's
right.
and also in the visual side too. What
Mhm.
type of impression do you want? Do you want to say I'm a junkie store? Like you can come and you can treat me any kind of way, or do you want to say, hey, I'm organized, I'm neat. This is my expectation, this is who I am. And then the impact on the customer. If usually those places that are very disorganized, the customer service is also disorganized. The
Mm,
customer service is also not good. So you're
right.
you're really telling a story of hey, you can treat me any kind of way, or you go into a store and you say, hey, you know what? These are our standards. This is how you treat our store. This is how you treat our merchandise, and we're valuable. So I think some of those things too as well, once you start carrying those things with you, far as with your business, just always think about what kind of impression do you want? What kind of impact do you want to leave on your customers? So when I think about customer sensitivity, that's what I think about. This
Mm,
particular those videos that you had shown, that particular client was very disorganized. So when I came,
Okay.
I cleaned everything up, and within minutes, things sold. Like he was selling $1,000 even before he opened up, just
Wow.
by based on looks alone.
On
So
looks.
that tells you a lot from being very not really selling too much to if you're organized, how much your profits will go up tremendously. So that's what happened in that particular case.
And so, and I guess to go to feed more into that particular case is what were like, how did you come upon this client? Because part of customer service is this thing, this idea of the term you refer to it as acquisition, customer acquisition. Part of customer service is being able to acquire more customers into the company. So how did you, like, did you just walk up on him, be like, I can help you? Like, how did you change? How did you get to the point where you were servicing him?
Well, with all things, I pray. I'm a
Okay.
praying person. So one day I actually did walk up on him, and because I asked, I said, well, I want to make sure I meet the right people and that I go where there's a need.
Hmm.
So if you are able to go to where there's a need, you can easily help them. In this particular area, I saw everything that was in a jumbled mess, and I said, hey, and I presented who I am. I said, hey, I could help you. I want to actually help you increase your profits. So it's okay, you know, and that's essentially what happened. I saw that there's a need, and I became the solution.
Mm. So you saw that there's a need and you became a solution. I think about some of like my accounting clients that I do their books for them.
Mhm.
When I got their books, I'm like, whoa, right? And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have to figure out a way to get everything up to date. Your books are a mess, and these are the steps that we're going to have to take. So the need is so that they can report their documentation to the IRS or what other entities or even investors, their financials, like they'll have accurate financials, right?
Mhm.
That's what they're in need of, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times, in order for you to get certain investments, they want to know what you're doing with your money, and having the proper financials in place would allow my customers to be able to obtain different types of degrees of loans and investor funding, government funding, and stuff like that. And so, in your case, you're dealing with how they present. It's the same thing. Presentation is key. But when you present in a certain way, you can become more profitable. And so, let's see. So I I guess we can kind of like, okay, so we know that presentation, but what about communication? Like, how important is communication within the frameworks of acquiring new customers or in the frameworks of customer service?
Okay. Well, communication is everything. If you're unclear, then the customers are unclear. So I think once you become very clear and you communicate that way, then customers will respond. So say for instance what you were saying about your books being disorganized, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of times what happens is people don't see their mess. So a lot of
Mm,
times you have to communicate and say, hey, there's a mess here,
right.
and say, because a lot of times we're blind to what's really going on.
Mhm.
So a lot of times we have to go into a situation and identify, say, hey, did you notice that this isn't checking out? This isn't checking out for you, far as with accounting, right? So with me, far as with business, I say, okay, well, we have to. A lot of times we have to propose there is a problem first, and then person say, oh wow, I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that that's why my sales aren't there because of my visual merchandising. I thought it was great. This particular customer, he did actually thought he was doing a great job. He was
Wow.
really like thinking that it was really great until he saw those numbers. And
Mm.
numbers don't lie. So
But
it's
they
it's
do
it's
lie.
always Yeah, it's proof in the pudding, as they say, it's proof in the pudding. So whether or not you like it, or whether you think is the best thing, if you actually end up being more profitable, since I actually came in and I organized things, then hey, there was a problem before. There was a
Right.
problem. So now you can see what I see. So I think a lot of times in community that those things to customers sometimes are very difficult because they can't see it. They can't see, oh well, with you in accounting, oh well, my books, I'm making money. But you're like, no, actually you're losing a lot more money than what you're
Money.
making. You don't see you're in a
Right.
deficit. You don't see that you're spending more than you're bringing in. So I think once you go in and you communicate and say you identify those things, then a customer can say, okay, now there's a problem. Guess what? Now I'm the solution. Let me
Right.
help you with this. Let me help you organize this, and then when you kind of do that, you present your value. Okay, now I'm valuable because I take you from here to there so that you can reach your expected end of being more profitable in your business.
That's real good. That is really, really good. And so being able to communicate uh the issues and communicate how you can solve problems. Now, you've been working in the customer service industry for over 19 years, which I think is phenomenal, right? So you got experience, right? Hey, you got experience. And so um I know you have had the opportunity to deal with aggressive customers.
Yes.
And so, a lot of us want to know because, you know, I personally could become a better communicator, but how have you dealt with aggressive customers without losing your temperature?
Right, right, absolutely. Um, well, it's really so what I usually do is I listen. I come into a situation and I let them talk. A soft answer turns away wrath. So I really
Mm,
just, okay, let me go ahead and let them vent. What's going on? Let's see what's going on. Okay. And then once they kind of finish everything, then I say, okay, so you're saying this is this? Yes, I'm saying this is this. Okay, all right. So this is what we can do going forward. You know, if
right.
if once through that situation, this is what I can do for you. Because you said this is what I can do. And if at that time they're still irate, there's no problem with calling security. Okay? Like you do not have to, if a person is belligerent, you can still within legal rights to actually still call security and let them handle it from that standpoint.
Mhm.
So if a customer is getting upset, that's usually what you do. You talk with them, you're never combative, because I've seen things to where managers will actually combat the customer. That's nothing that you would want to do ever. You don't want to, because then that's going to make them even more upset. So you want to kind of
Mm,
just, start to really just bring them down some and just really say, okay, and really talk in a really calm manner and say, okay, well, this is what we can do. Okay, well, right now, unfortunately, this is our policy. This is what our policy states. Now, this is what I can do for you. Going forward, such and such and such and such. So that way you don't have this repeat customer making the same types of issues over and over again, because a lot of customers will actually even try to what's it called, take advantage of the system. They will try to take advantage of that, especially if you don't know. So I would always
right.
say, know your policy, know what's in place, so that way you can speak to it if one of those situations actually come up during, one of those times to where a customer is irate.
Okay. That's pretty good, which leads me into my next question for you. Um, so, you know, we interact with the clientele, right? How important it is for you to communicate the message of your company or the vision of your company to your staff. You have trained leaders, so how important is it to communicate um, that message?
It's very important because everybody has to be on the same page. So if you are not communicating to your staff, this is what we stand by, this is our mission, this is our vision, this is what we want to do for as our company, then they're not going to know. So
Hmm.
you always have to be very clear in what you stand for. And you have to say, okay, these are our standards. As a leader, as someone in that field, you have to communicate those things with your staff and say, hey, this is what we'll accept, this is what we won't accept. And really just hold them to that.
So putting the proper procedures and everything in place, so that we're all communicating the same message or language, as some would say, right? And we're
Hmm.
all on one accord. It'll help with the processes within the company, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, every company has a culture, right? So some of these cultures are really set in place. And
Hmm.
sometimes a company can try to shift cultures. And it's like, well, that's not what we've been doing. That's not what we've been doing. Well, none of the management is doing that. So then you have an issue. So when you kind of start to onboard people and you have a culture of people that are not on time, you have a culture of people that don't do their work, don't hit their sales goals, leave the store in disarray, that is what you set that precedence. So you can't expect for your numbers to be great. You can't expect for your customers to be happy because you're not investing those types of standards in your company's culture. So it's very important that from management down that everybody is on the same page, and then start to develop those leaders, start to develop those employees in within that company.
So let me ask you a question. Um, Let me see. How can I say this? Um, so how does an owner who runs a company needs help to communicate these ideas, or to create a company culture that is sustainable for everyone to kind of carry out? Like,
Hmm.
so how, how would an owner go about that?
So it really, I would say, during your interviewing process, being
Hmm.
very clear on what you want.
Hmm.
If you are very clear on what you want, you hire according to that standard.
Right.
So usually what happens is a lot of people, they hire fast. They hire fast and they don't care really who they're hiring. They just like, okay, well, we need people. Wrong. Because you don't want to start bringing in everybody, right? And then it's going to be a higher turnover rate because you're not hiring the
Mm.
right people. Excuse me if I just adjust this for a second. But you're not hiring the right people. So when you have those things in place to where, you have these standards of saying, okay, these are the type of people that I want. This is the kind of staff that I want. Let's start looking for those types of people. What kind of qualifications would those types of people have? And let's
Wow.
go ahead and go out there and start to search for these people and then be attractive, because a lot of companies are actually attractive to employees. And that's just another thing too to discuss later on. But a lot of times the company can be attractive, say, okay, well, wow, I know they have such a great reputation, right?
Mhm.
So if they have a great reputation, you will attract the right people, right?
Right.
So then you have to go through it and start to, okay, 90 days, however many days you want to have. So that way, that's why they have those windows of that I can let a person go, after 90 days if it doesn't work out. Kind of like a dating process, right? And they kind of
Mhm.
start to vet you within those 90 days. Are you going to be on time? Are you going to be, certain things like that? Are you punctual? Are you retain the knowledge? Are you trainable? Are you coachable? Some of those things, within the company, and then that can maintain the culture. So if you start to hire based on the standards in which you want to set within your company, then you will have those employees.
Oh, wow. That's a very interesting. You kind of given me from an employer perspective. I've been an employee for a while, right? I'm still an employee, even though I'm still not. I'm an entrepreneur and a full time employee at the moment. But I remember in this recent interview before I landed the job, uh, the the controller said to me, she says, I asked her, you know, what are you guys looking for? She says, we're looking for someone that is not just capable of doing the work, but fit the culture
Mm-hmm.
and understand what our mission is, because we help drive the ship, right? Um, we help make the ship go. And so that you just gave me like I guess I'd be a little relaxed on some of the recruiters, right? Because you know they're looking for somebody that can excel in the company. They're looking for somebody that's going to meet the standard of the company, so that the company can grow, so that the organization uh, can grow. I think that is this is really good information. Um, and
Yeah, because you.
so,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, because ultimately you don't want anybody that's going to come into your business and destroy it, right? Because that's
Mm,
your baby. If you are a business owner, you don't want anybody to come into your business and mess up the culture. Because one thing
right.
about it, when you have somebody on your team that's really like dragging down the team, and you have a positive team, and this person is very negative, that's gonna disrupt your culture. So
Mm,
you don't want to have somebody who's disruptive of your culture. Because I've seen it so
okay.
many times that people will hire people based on resumes, right? And keep them. But then what'll end up happening is they will actually say, okay, well, I don't see why they're saying that. I don't think we should do that. And they'll be very negative and disrupt the culture. And that can ultimately, you get enough of those in your boat and you're trying to row in a certain direction, you're gonna sink. And that's what happens a lot of times in companies. They end up financially sinking because they have too many people that are poking holes in their boat.
Wow.
So they're not able to actually sustain themselves. So what ends up happening is they have to say, okay, now where are my leaks? What's really happening? Because we were profitable, but what happened? What was the change in our culture? Did we not train our people properly? Is that what happened? Did we not train our staff properly? Are we not investing in people? Are we not adhering to these standards? Are we not holding people accountable? So that's a lot of times that's what happens. And it starts to happen in little groups, and that's what really happens within a company. Because then those standards start lowering. So even if you are a company of high standards, once you start lowering your standards and you start having those people come into your organization, you start to devalue the company. And that's what I've seen a
Right.
lot of times too, that the companies will actually start to lose their value based on who they have working for them.
Right. And that's true, because even like if I've been in places where the customer service was horrible, I just left. But it was created by the staff and the employee, and it seemed like to me like a cultural thing, that it's normal for them to behave like that. But maybe corporate don't know what's going on down here, because not, I mean, like you've been to like one McDonald's where the service was amazing, and you went to another McDonald's. It ain't that the burgers aren't good, right? It's the fact that what's being presented. And I think Byron Marcel made a statement. Like he made a statement is that, you know, every every customer isn't for you, right? So you got to know who you're aiming for. And when he made that statement, because he was like, you know, somebody may like the ratchet stuff, and then someone may want to go to a culture that is more like calm, relaxed, and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that that makes perfect sense what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so you attract what you are in a
Mm,
business, in relationships, everything. You attract what you are. So if you are a ratchet business, guess who you gonna attract? You're gonna get your ratchet customers, right?
right.
So it makes sense. If you are Mercedes Benz, or if you are one of these luxury cars, you're not gonna just attract anybody, because guess what? They can't afford you. So I
Mm,
think when a lot of times, when a customer presents themselves, they're trying to say, okay, whose money do I want? Do I want the person with a low income, or do I want somebody who has more income? Do I want somebody who
Wow.
has more discretionary income? So when they kind of start to present themselves like that, okay, whose money do I want? And that's essentially
Right.
what ends up happening.
Who? Y'all hear that? Who money? Whose munties? Let me make that. Do you want when you're engaging clientele? Who do you want to
Absolutely.
attract? Your presentation is important. How you communicate is important. And so all of this is wrapped around the first statement that Diana said regarding the images that she's seen was you have to tell your story, and building your corporate culture is important. And so Diana, as an entrepreneur, right? What would you um, suggest to someone that is in the process of growing a business, for them to become customers centered? Because you can offer a great product, but if the
Hmm.
product, you can offer a great product, but if you're not customer centered, the product not going to sell.
Yeah, yeah. I think when you go into any business, you want to always become the buyer. Would you buy it?
Mm,
Because I think a lot of times people, they kind of just produce, but it's like, would you eat there? Would you even shop there? When you kind of start thinking from that standpoint, when I was in the grocery business, I wouldn't put out just any produce,
mhm.
because I'm like, I wouldn't eat that. Why would I expect anybody else to eat that?
Wow.
So, I think about those things. If, as an entrepreneur and as you're up and coming, you got to think about, what am I feeding people? Is
Wow.
it something that's even good for them? When you kind of start producing things, is this something that I would actually enjoy watching, or actually enjoy being a part of, or actually, if I would even pay my money for it?
Right.
If the answer is no, you need to go back to the drawing board. If you say, I wouldn't even pay for this, you need not to
That's
produce it.
right.
Because you got to kind of think of it like that. If you're making something, would I eat that? If you don't even want to eat what you cooking, why are you feeding it to somebody else?
Yes,
And that's just
that's
what
true.
that's just what business or anything else. So I think once you kind of come into that mindset of, if I'm going to produce, it's going to be good,
It's
I
going
would
to be
eat
good.
that. I would stand by that. And then what ends up happening is that raises your level of integrity and trust within your industry, because they say, you know what, I would put my stamp on this business. I personally know this particular company is very true to who they are. And going back to company culture, if you have that mindset of saying, hey, these are our standards and this is what we uphold, we don't cut no corners, we don't hook, we don't crook, we don't do none of that. We actually have these standards of, if we're going to produce it, it's going to be good. If it ain't good, guess what, go back to the drawing board and do it again until
Mm,
it's great. Then
right.
let's go
That
ahead and put out these things, because I think a lot of times what end up happening in the world is that you wanted fast money, fast products, and it was low quality. So you got
right.
things that they are made to break. And that's not something that we should have. We should not have a business or produce things that are made to break. You want to things that used to be the saying, built to last, right?
Mhm.
And people don't have that model anymore, to where they build their companies. Hey, we're built to last. We want to stand the test of time, to where even in fluctuations of the market, people are actually still purchasing from us. People are still buying, because what? We have integrity and we have reliability. So yeah, so that's
Right.
what I think about those things. I think about some of the things. I'm like, wow, I wasted my money on this. I thought this was going to be a good product. Then come to find out, it was cheaply made. And I'm like, wow, they took me for my money. And you kind of feel you feel
Bamboozled.
yeah, you feel bamboozled, you feel very upset. You like, wow, I spent all my money for this and this is what they did. Wow. Guess what happened? I'll never shop again.
Yep.
They won't get they may get it once, but I'm not going back to that place. I'll find somebody else who actually has quality and I'll spend my money there. And here's the thing, I'll even pay more for quality.
For quality, because quality lasts long.
It lasts longer.
It lasts longer. I remember me and a friend after church, we had went to a restaurant, and the aesthetics were beautiful. It was in a nice area in Atlanta. It's a black owned business. You know, a lot of times I want to support black owned businesses because I rather pour my money to see other people grow. But we went into the restaurant, we got our food, we sat down. The food was horrible. It was like one piece of shrimp and his grits and shrimp that he had. The chicken wasn't crunchy. It just wasn't mathing at all. And so I think that you do mention, this is why it's important to have a specialist come in and see, like he said, the macaroni and cheese definitely was craft boxed. Okay. The macaroni and cheese, they really tried us. It was from Kraft. Okay. But I'm not gonna get all into that. But I'm, but Diana, this is why it's important for specialists as yourself to come in and be able to help people understand their pain points, because a lot of times we don't see what our pain points are. You know, for me, I'm just starting this YouTube channel, right? Where I want to be able to talk to more people like you. But there are some pain points that I've had, and so and people have told me about them, and what I've said is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to develop over time. Keep giving me your feedback so that I can develop and create a better product for those who are aspiring to be in our profession as entrepreneurs. So, how important is it for people to seek out specialists?
I think it's very important because you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes, I always say it's always something to learn from
Mhm,
everyone. So whether they feel like, oh, well, I just don't need anybody, I feel like you always need somebody.
mhm.
You always need somebody to come in and say, you know what? Have you thought about this?
Right.
Because a lot of times you'll get new ideas. She's like, wow, I didn't think about that. Okay. And then sometimes too, other people have knowledge that you don't have, right? So now you have the cheat code to knowledge that they know. So when
Mhm.
you start to hire these specialists, right, they are specialized in a particular industry. Like for myself, I specialize in retail. That is my niche. That is what I specialize in, right? That's the same as a doctor, a specialist. You go to a specialist, they can say, hey, specifically, you need to fix this. So it's really good to have those types of people who specialize in a particular industry, because then you can solve the problems that you're actually having specifically, right?
Right.
So if you get somebody who's general business consultant and they're not specifically for the retail industry, you're you're
Right.
you're you're going to miss a lot of the things that you could have got from a specialist that
Mm.
specializes. They can talk directly to retail. They can talk to directly to accounting, and they can coach you and say, Jamil, did you know such and such about this industry? Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, if you do this, because I've seen it being proven, try this instead. And that is
Right.
actually more valuable for your business, because guess what? Then you're getting the shortcuts. That's what specialists are. They're giving you the shortcuts, because guess what? They have so much knowledge that they can present to you and say, wow, I can train you in this, and you can be developed. So every great person, every great entrepreneur, from the multi-billionaires, have mentors. They have specialists that come in and help them with their business. So I would say never be prideful. Never be thinking that you know it all, because you don't.
Mhm.
You can never know it all. But
No.
if you have somebody else that comes in and be able to teach you those things, then you'll be more successful in the long run, because you won't have to waste a lot of time. So,
I think that is very, 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 very important for entrepreneurs to seek out assistance, because what's going to happen is you're going to save a lot of money and a lot of pain points that you're going to be that you can experience if you end up doing it alone. Because you can't do everything, and it also frees you up too. Um, it also frees you up to be able to do other things with your business, right? Or to maybe focus on just putting out the products while someone's helping you develop, as you said, in other areas that you need development. Um, I look at it as, some people may be like, well, I can do it, but you got to think about the time that you're going to spend to get it accomplished.
exactly.
And so, time, there's a financial concept, time value of money, right? And so, um, and and so with time value of money is like, how long is it going to take you to get your return back? But you got to invest in time, right? But if you're investing here, 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 you have split your time and you're not able to really focus on one task, uh, so that you can get a return.
Mhm.
I also, this concept that I've learned in economics. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called, oh God, it's on my tongue. Um, It's when you forego one opportunity for
Opportunity
another.
costs.
Opportunity cost. Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
And so, like, you gotta think about it, how much is gonna free up the cost of you doing that versus someone who has the niche, and the capabilities to do that type of work for you, or train you in it, to help you get better at it. And, so yeah, opportunity cost. Sometimes you have to forego. It may cost some money. That's why it's opportunity cost, but you're able to put more time into this area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so that's essentially what happens. A lot of people, they say, "Well, I could do it myself. I could do it myself." Okay. You could, but do you really want to? That's like saying, for instance, if I have my groceries in my car and somebody say, "Hey, I want to help you with these groceries," right? You say, "No, I'm okay. I can go ahead and
Mhm.
carry my groceries in myself." You're putting more weight on yourself. You're struggling. You're wasting time. If you
Right.
could have just said, "Okay, yes, please come help me." Guess what? Now you're not straining yourself. Now you're not wasting your time going back and forth to the car. You got help. So I think a lot of times we're prideful because we're like, "Oh, well, I can take all of these things by myself," when you really don't have to.
Mm-mm.
If you just say, "Yes, I need your help," you'll save yourself a lot of time, effort, and energy. So yeah.
Yeah, I ain't anybody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm not gonna. I
Yes.
like. I've had people like, well, why don't you just do it yourself? I could do it myself, but do you guys understand how long it takes me to read these tax laws? You get
Yes.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm going to pay somebody else to do my flyers. I'm going to pay somebody else to do this or do that because it's going to free up time. And, just to get to back to the customer acquisition part of it is,
Mhm.
so that I can go out and get the clientele and bring them into the company while you guys are focusing on this project for me.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so very important to get help, to reach out to those accounting, those professionals, those beauty salon owners, hairstylists, the people in different industries that have the specialties, that have went to school for it.
Mhm.
So it's like going to the doctor. Are you just going to get anybody to just cut on you and do surgery? No. You want somebody who has been through it, You want somebody who has been to school. You want somebody who is knowledgeable. So I think a lot of times people, they don't really understand it from that standpoint of, I need somebody who is actually knows what they're doing and come and help me with this. Because guess what? Ultimately, guess what? You're gonna get to your expected end. You're gonna be successful. And
Mhm.
nobody's gonna say, "Oh, well, she didn't do it herself. He didn't, do he got help." Of course he got help.
Yep.
Yeah, and nothing is wrong with that.
Nothing
Actually,
is
that's
wrong.
very smart for you to get help. If you can afford
Mhm.
it, get it.
You, it's so funny. I was talking. I'm going to bring Marcel up again with Marcel, and also Ebony. Ebony was saying that it's important for you guys to invest in coaches,
Mhm.
right? Marcel said this is that none of us have arrived to where we are without somebody. So this whole idea of self-made, we could kind of throw that out the throw that in the garbage because you can't be
Mhm.
self-made, right? Um,
Absolutely. Mhm.
you need somebody to get to the next step. There was always somebody like when you went to school, like you did, in order for you to learn your ABCs, somebody had to teach it to you,
Yeah.
right? And you became proficient in it. And so in order for you to walk, you had to see somebody else walk,
Mhm.
right? And so the importance of we needing each other to grow is very important. And is there anything else that you would like to say in regards to customer service that you feel like we have missed?
In regards to customer service, have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun. If you enjoy what you do, people are going to enjoy to shop with you. If you love what you do, and that's for every industry, have fun. If you can literally say, "Wow, I really enjoy my job. I really enjoy helping people." That's going to translate. And people are going to want to shop with you specifically because you love what you do. So I
Wow.
would say, have fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to again thank the lovely, elegant Diana Trotter, the owner of Venu. I'm pronouncing it right now, y'all. Venu LLC. She is a phenomenal woman. Diana, before we go, do you want to give everybody your hashtags?
Yep. So you can find me at Venu Consulting on Instagram. You can find me at Venu LLC on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn at Diana Trotter, or you can look up Venu Consulting. And you can also go to dtrotter.com. Thank you.
And so, again, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for taking the time. We could talk forever, right? Because we've been on the phone forever, right? Um, but we're coming to a close. Are there any encouraging words that you want to say to up and coming entrepreneurs or those who are
Oh,
aspiring to
absolutely.
perfect their customer service sensitivity?
Absolutely. What I would say to up and coming entrepreneurs is just be consistent. Keep
Mhm.
going. It's going to be hard times. It's going to be times to where you want to give up. Don't give up. Just keep going. And I know that's kind of sometimes you hear that a lot, but with anything, the more you do it, the more successful you'll be and the better you'll be at what you do. So just keep going. Don't give up. So
Hey,
that's my thing. Just keep doing it.
again, I want to thank you, Diana, for the wealth of information. I want to encourage you guys to tell your story, right? I want to encourage you guys to know your customer base. I want to encourage you guys to learn how to communicate to your customers. I want you guys to understand how important your the value in your products are, right? And what the time that you invest in it. Developing great leadership or being a great leader yourself is important in terms of customer acquisition. And so there are many moving parts of customer service, or even working in a retail industry or the service industry. There are many moving parts. But in order for you guys to bring more people in, to leverage, let me use that word, leverage, to leverage more clientele, you guys have to do the necessary things. And one of the necessary things I feel is being able to reach out to someone who specializes in your industry or can help you grow. Someone like Miss Trotter. I encourage you guys to go check out her website. We want to thank you. And this is our ending salute. We do the peace. Pieces. We thank you guys. You guys enjoy your day. And remember, the purpose of this show is making business relative. You guys have a blessed one. Go to check out our latest content by subscribing to Leverage TV. Make sure you like, share, and comment.